Hey everyone, it's Hugh Sweeney here, and I'm back tonight with a video all about why I decided to hand back my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. Yes, well no, I didn't hand it back, I actually cancelled my order. The cinema camera, Pocket Cinema camera 4K was ready for collection, and they rang me up and they said, hey, we've got your camera, you want to pay for it and collect it? And I decided that I didn't want to get it. So in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why. So a couple of reasons why I didn't get the Blackmagic Pocket camera, even though I'm a huge avid Blackmagic fan. The number one reason is that they released the camera with what I think are limitations and flaws and design features that, you know, initially I didn't exactly spot, but after a while, after looking at it for a few months and not having it in my hands, I started to sort of look at it on screen and say, you know what? The more I see this, the more I dislike the way they did this, the more I dislike the way they did that. And yeah, it all led to me just going, you know what, I don't want it. So the first thing that really annoys me about this camera is how they released, this powerful camera in a relatively small package, not that small, but they released it with an LP6 style battery, which is the same battery that we use in like a Canon Eos-R and like a GH5, you know, it's that kind of small format battery, but it's a very power hungry camera. So it means that you only get so much time with the battery. So it's kind of a, big screen, big 5-inch screen, lots of raw shooting. Lots of raw shooting capabilities and all that stuff. And then it's got this little battery that's going to go after like 20 minutes of use or 25 minutes of use. That really annoys me. I don't know why Blackmagic just didn't say, you know what, we're going to design a proper battery system for this camera. Even if they charge more, I think they charged too little for this camera and gave us too little. And that's another thing I'm going to get to in the next point. But I think, I would have paid more. I would rather the camera be 1,500 euros as opposed to 1,200 euros and have a really awesome battery system, like we'll say a 1DX, that big slug battery, or else look at the battery on a Phantom drone. One battery, one small, relatively lightweight battery that can keep a drone up in the air for like 25 minutes. So why don't they just invent a battery system for the camera that they're releasing? Because it's a very popular camera and it would be worthwhile for them to have a proper battery. So that and a few other design features that are sort of limiting the camera as well. What else? Yes, just the width of the camera, the form factor of the camera. Like they've gone and made this sort of, it's the pocket camera. It's small, but it's not that small, and it's quite wide, and it's not a nice shape. It's too wide to fit on smaller gimbals, which is ridiculous considering it's supposed to be a pocket camera, and it's kind of fat. And the screen as well. I mean, just the whole thing with the screen, lovely big screen, in fairness, it's quite nice. It mightn't be as bright outdoors as we'll say the screen on the Canon EOS-R here, but big screen, nice touch, user-friendly menu and all that. It's great for all that stuff, but I don't know, not great in terms of just, being stuck in the back of the camera. So all these design features, I ended up just looking at it and going, you know what? Fuck it, I ain't getting it. So that's kind of the number one reason. Releasing the camera where it could have been better with those design features. So the second reason that I decided not to go ahead and pick up the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera is it's too cheap. Now, I know it sounds absolutely ridiculous for someone to say that it's too cheap, but it actually is. Blackmagic Design are an amazing company and they make amazing products. They do brilliant, tech gear for the filmmaking industry, coloring industry, colorists industry. But they end up making a camera that's sort of designed so that everyone can have one. And it sort of cheapens our industry a little bit. It means that the average Joe, the average user that, doesn't want to spend that much on a camera, that may not own a camera, that may be thinking of getting into filmmaking, it'll mean that they end up with the Blackmagic Pocket camera as their first camera, and that kind of annoys me. They're selling an amazing, powerful camera with software, DaVinci Resolve software, and they're bundling it all in for about $1,300, about 1,300 euros as well. And, you know, it's almost half the price of a GH5. It's half the price of a GH5S. And it sort of cheapens the industry and it sort of pisses off the competition. And as I said, it means that a lot of people have one. And I've seen on these filmmaking groups on Facebook, these generic filmmaking groups, I've seen all these guys really, you know, excited about getting their new cameras, new pocket cameras. And you can tell that these guys aren't professionals. A lot of them are beginners. And you end up having the same camera as a beginner. And that sort of pisses me off because, as I was saying a while ago, in the design features, you know, they limited the camera in many areas and a lot of us, people in my, we'll say, spectrum of filmmaking would happily pay twice the price of the Blackmagic Pocket camera for a few more tweaks, a few more things that are better. Maybe a modular screen system. Maybe more of a brain type design, a little bit like Kinefinity or even, dare I say, Red, where they take their like video assist and they have a proper cable connection system and you can modularly attach it to like a brain and not have this sort of all-in-one sort of, you know, old school sort of film, you know, low budget kind of camera, photography camera style format, which they have. And just do a more kind of funky brain kind of system. I wish they did that. So in doing that, then they wouldn't have sort of be appealing to the bottom line beginner, which I think they've done with this and making it so cheap and all that. I know I shouldn't say it, but I really do think they made it too cheap. People might say that, oh, well, you know, if you want a better camera, why don't you just get the Ursa Pro then if it's too, like some guys were saying that to me when I made that point on Facebook, that, you know, get the Ursa Mini Pro then if you're saying it's not good enough. The Ursa Mini Pro will do this and do that. But the Ursa Mini Pro, when you put a battery on it and one or two other accessories, is up on $8,000. And this camera is just over $1,000. So you have this big huge gap in price range. So I would really rather Blackmagic Design had put their energy into making a camera for like $2,500 to $3,000, a small format camera for that price range. It would separate out the total beginners from the users like myself with a bit of experience and stuff like that. So that is my second point. It really got me thinking. I don't want to be using the same camera that everyone else is using, and that's going to happen. Another reason for me is I already have a GH5, which is not here, it's in the other room. And I have this Canon Eos-R, and they both have these lovely flippy screens that will turn around and let me see what I'm doing. The pocket camera doesn't have that. I think we all know that. But say if I wanted to do this video with the pocket camera, I wouldn't be able to do it. Like I wouldn't be able to hold up stuff. Like even this pen. Let's hold up this pen and see if it focuses on it. Look at that. Back to my face, back to the pen. This is the Eos-R. So, like, what can the pocket camera do that the Eos-R can't do? It's a full frame camera. It takes all my Canon glass. It'll autofocus beautifully. It's as I said, full frame. I can do amazing photos on it. I can do all this stuff on the Eos-R. The battery will last a lot longer as well. I can do 60 frames a second in HD. I know I can't do 4K. I can't shoot RAW. I know that. But I've got great Vlog, Canon Vlog, and whatever it's called. And I'm not even using this that much. So what do I want another camera for? And if I do get the pocket camera, you know, as I said, I'll be probably, you know, have to do a different setup for these videos. And even bringing it out about vlogging and stuff, it's going to be more awkward. Now, I know that, you know, it's aimed at filmmakers and indie filmmakers and stuff. And just checking my audio. And it's a fantastic camera. And I would love one for filmmaking. I would probably prefer it to the Eos-R or the GH5. But realistically, when it comes to these videos and these movies that we're making, it's not all about the camera. And a relatively good camera and a good idea is better than an amazing camera and okay-ish idea. Like I made a movie there a couple of years ago on the Canon 60D back in 2013. And I really didn't know what I was doing. And it's a horror movie. And in the last week, for some reason, the video got thrown into the YouTube algorithm where people obviously, you know, comes up in suggested videos. And it's after getting about like 65,000 views in a week. And it has some pretty cool little scares in there. And it's like, it's not that great. But it's, you know, I was a beginner and it's a crappy camera, the 60D. It's nowhere near as good as this. It's nowhere near as good as the GH5. But the idea that I had in the movie and that jump scare that I had at the start of the movie was actually good. And that's why people like it. So, you know, sometimes we get really caught up in cameras and gear, and at the end of the day, you know, God, I've got 2 cameras already. What do I need another third one for? So that's another reason I didn't get it. Now, another reason that I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to get it is because the GH5 is image stabilization. And when you get used to shooting videos with image stabilization, it's very hard to go back to using handheld cameras without it. I can knock off so many shots with the, that sounded bad. I can knock out so many shots with the Canon or with the GH5 with the image stabilization on, even with like 100mm lenses, the 50mm to 100 from Sigma. I can just hold it dead steady and just focus in on someone, and it yields great shots. I'm not going to be able to do that with the Blackmagic pocket camera. Plus, with the screen at that angle, I love shooting low down. I would say like 90% of the shots I take with these cameras are with the screen actually at 90 degrees. Like that with the camera, where I'm actually looking down at it like that. And with the image stabilization, I just love shooting like that. I love shooting low down, just looking at it like that. And that's something that I wouldn't be able to do with the pocket camera. So essentially, I'd be out there with the pocket camera. I'd be back to my old Blackmagic days. If you look at my Facebook profile picture, the famous picture I had like this, looking at the camera, and I'd be back to that, you know, bending down, looking at the back of the screen on a tripod. And I kind of want to get away from that style of shooting. So that's another reason I didn't go ahead with the Blackmagic pocket camera. And another reason, how many reasons have I given you now? I think we're at about 6. Are we about 6? Not too sure. It doesn't matter. I'll probably put like 7 reasons. 7 reasons I give back the Blackmagic pocket camera. But another reason is the advent and the development of new cameras in the pipeline, such as the new Panasonics, the new S1, the new S1R. The S1R is €3,000 for me to buy. I think it's 3,000 sterling, but I claim VAT, which means that I can get the VAT back because I'm a professional who's VAT registered. So I think it's going to work out about €3,000 for me if I get that. That's the S1R. So that's a 45 megapixel camera, and that sounds quite amazing. So that's another reason. New full frame cameras from Panasonic that are image stabilized sensors. They've got a full frame stabilized sensor, which is fucking awesome, and it yields great results as well. I saw Locke, Locke, that other guy's, I forget the other guy's, Kai's sidekick. He's got his own channel, Locke, where he talks it's very hard to understand sometimes, but he's a great guy. But I saw that he had done some test footage, and he was saying how great the image stabilization is on those new cameras. So yeah, that is another reason. New DSLR style cameras, and I think those new Panasonics have a bigger battery as well. I kind of like that bigger battery, their own style battery. That's pretty funky. I like the way they've designed those cameras, and even though like those new Panasonics, they've got the angle screen at the back. You can move it a few different angles, but you can't face it towards you. Like, I thought we were over that. Why don't they just leave it as a flippy screen like that? That'll do everything. But yeah, so the advent of new cameras, the Blackmagic pocket camera now, it's actually kind of, by the time people are getting it, it's actually old hat. It's getting a bit long on the tooth. We're like talking about it for the last year now. It was actually is it NAMM? What's the show, the trade show in April? I think it was March, April. Is it NAMM? I can't remember. Is NAMM the music one? It doesn't matter. But that show in Vegas, so that's when I ordered it and paid my deposit. So it's almost a year soon. So yes. There's a few different reasons there. But just to go back to Blackmagic Design, I mean, they're an amazing company. They really are an amazing company. But like they came out with the Blackmagic Cinema camera in 2012. That's like 7 years ago, when that camera was actually designed and manufactured in its prototype. That's 7 years, and it could record straight to an SSD in RAW and ProRes, all these lovely different ProReses. Had a big 5-inch screen. It's not great outside. Inbuilt battery, which is a fucking ridiculous idea. Actually, that's something I'm going to talk about for a second, about that I don't like about the Blackmagic pocket camera. People have said, oh, you need to rig it. And you'll see like Tilta, and you'll see, you know, Small Rig and 8sin, and there's a few other rig companies, Lampart maybe. And you'll see them making this rig. You've got this like finished off design, you know, it's like curves, and it's like very 80s looking kind of curvature going on to the pocket camera. It's curved at the back. And then you've got all these rig manufacturers designing this fucking metal thing to go around it. It's so dumb. Like, so many guys are using this camera rigged, and if they're going to be going down that route and you're going to be using it professionally, it should be like a brain type camera, you know, with screws on it. Like look at what that Zcam 2 have done, you know, where you can connect your phone to it and stuff. And they're a very small company that is nowhere near at the level of Blackmagic design. And look what they've innovated with that camera, with 120 frames per second in 4K. Is it 120 4K? I think, yeah. So I think, like, I would rather a Zcam E2 than a pocket camera. I really would. And if they made these cameras, as I said, more brain type camera. Why don't Blackmagic design a kind of brain camera where they take the video assist, where it's connected, where you can connect it to the side of the camera, or you can connect it to the top with its own sort of unique type of cable that will transfer all the data. And the camera, you can slip a really cool battery on the back, maybe their own type battery that just slots into the back, powers the screen, powers the camera itself. And I don't know why they don't just make something more pro like that. Even with the Ursa Mini, I mean, it's pretty cool, but it's a big ass camera again. God, some of the stuff that Blackmagic have released over the years, when I think back, God, the production camera as well, my God, I used that for 4 years. And that put me through a lot of pain, especially indoor stuff, Jesus, at night. And of course they had the Ursa then as well, big, massive, huge thing, which was ridiculous. So I really think Blackmagic, yeah, I'd love to see them work with kind of a new design team. Say, right, okay, you guys take a break, go on holidays, go to the Bahamas, take some time off. We're going to design this new type camera. We're going to get away from this kind of curvy, tapering, sort of oblong, you know, loaf of bread type shape, croissant type shape. And we're going to get back to, you know, square boxy stuff. I think square boxy design is much, much better. I know I've sounded like I'm talking shit, but I know some of you out there probably know what I'm on about. So yeah, Kinefinity. Kinefinity have cool stuff. Yes, they do nice stuff. Maybe Kinefinity are the way to go. But that is it sort of for this video. A little bit of a rant straight to camera. I'm not going to do any editing on this. I'll just check it through, and I'll try and edit this in DaVinci Resolve. I've recently tried to make the transition from Final Cut to DaVinci Resolve, and I've learned so much about editing in DaVinci Resolve, but I still cannot output the work as quick as I used to in Final Cut. So I'm going to really force myself to go to DaVinci Resolve because I think it's an amazing piece of software. I love it. So I'm going to edit this one, definitely going to edit this video in DaVinci Resolve and color it as well. I find with the Canon Eos-R, the C-Log, it just grades beautifully with the LUT as well. So leave your comments and let me know what you think of the coloring in this video. I will show you probably this. Actually, this is it with color. This is it without the color now. And this is it with the LUT. And this is it with the LUT and my tweaks to the skin. There you go. That's my coloring. If you want to check me out on Instagram, I'm on there as Hugh Makes Films. Hugh_makes_films. That's on Instagram. And go onto my Facebook page as well. Hugh Sweeney Filmmaker. You'll find me there. And drop me a note if you want to. And leave your comments down below here, folks. I always like to read your comments, and I'll try and get back to you. But look, don't get me wrong. I'm not dissing this camera, the Blackmagic pocket camera. God, what's it called? BMP CC 4K? Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. I think it's a great camera. I'd love to have one now, and I'd probably use it. But as of now, I don't really need it, and I'm glad that I cancelled it because I just saved myself €1,300, and I can put that towards something else, like a new iMac Pro, which should be here soon, which I'm excited about. But yeah, so that's all from me, guys. Until next time, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully I'll do more of these kind of videos where I can just literally lash them out, as we say here in Ireland. Until next time, it's peace from me. Goodbye.